Hey everybody, my name's Logan Graf. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining my session. It's a beautiful day down here in Austin, Texas, and I'm excited to present to you uh, a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it's all about avoiding working crazy busy season hours. Now, I think the industry is where it is, and the state of the industry is where it is because of these crazy busy season hours. And I think that's the genesis of all of our problems right now, unfortunately. So I'm going to help teach you some strategies that I have to not work as much during busy season. And when we don't work as much during busy season, we can apply the same strategies throughout the whole year and help improve our quality of life throughout the full year. What a concept. Awesome. So I would love to launch a poll right now about how many hours you worked this past busy season. So January to April 2024. How many hours per week would you say average between January and April? Love to see, kind of get a gauge on where everybody is that is watching right now. Votes are coming in. I love this format of this conference and these little tools that we have. So far, it's a pretty even distribution almost. 40 to 50 hours is zero is is battling 0 to 40 hours. So if y'all are in the camp 0 to 40 hours, why are y'all here right now? uh, y'all should be leading this presentation. All right. So not every I know not everybody has voted. We have a lot of people here, but a lot of 40 to 50 hours, which is great. And some 50 to 60 and some 60 plus. Great. Thank y'all so much. Good to know. That's a lot better than I expected. So great job, y'all. Hopefully I can uh, help give y'all some little more tips, strategies to work it out. So I'm going to start my presentation. One second. Share my screen. Let's see. One second. Okay. Does that seem really small to y'all? That presentation. Very small. Okay. Let's see if I can move things around. Guys, I actually had a nightmare last night about presenting, and it was like I was having technical difficulties starting the presentation, and it was just like a manifestation right now of my nightmare. So glad I could relive the nightmare. Okay, so I think I need to change the screen that I'm presenting on, and so display settings. One second. Okay, and hold on. Almost there. Appreciate y'all's patience. Entire screen, screen one, share. Come on. Cross your fingers. How does that look for y'all? I think that looks better. Awesome. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate the positivity. Okay, let's avoid busy season hours. How do I do that? Well, today we're going to talk about six different main topics, and as we go along, I want to hear, I want to see the chat. I want to interact with y'all, so feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to try to hit up the questions as much as I can during the presentation, answer live, and uh, just so it's very interactive. It's going to be a quick 50 minutes. I think we have 50 minutes to an hour. And so here's our top six ideas that we're going to kind of discuss right now. All right. Jamie asks real quick. Jamie asks, how many clients do you typically file during January, April busy season? About 120 returns. I'm a small CPA firm in Austin, Texas. I have one employee, full-time employee. Hopefully that gives you kind of an idea of what I'm dealing with. Okay. The current state of public accounting. Public accounting to me is uh, you work with clients, and so you serve clients in an accounting as like an accountant role. You do their taxes, you do their bookkeeping and accounting. And so what's the deal with accounting right now? uh, who here has more work than they need, and who here has new work still coming in? Most of us are working so much because there's work out there. There's a ton of work out there. And we have less students in colleges, universities majoring in accounting because of all the hours that we're working. They are seeing, man, y'all are working so much. Y'all aren't really getting paid that much either. Why would I do that to myself? So, and we also have a lot of accountants retiring or should retire. You know, we're a pretty old profession, I believe, and that's probably the case for a lot of professions right now, actually. And AI is taking our jobs. No, it's not. It's only taking the work that we don't want to do. So let's try to reframe how we think about AI. And so I think what all this means is that we can afford to take risks to improve our firms and our lives. And the risk of actually taking big leaps and taking steps with our firm and making changes in our firm, the risk is actually getting lower and lower that it's actually going to be a negative step, like it's going to be a net negative. And so we almost have nothing to lose when we try to improve ourselves in our firm. Okay, so which leads me to, do you really want it? Do you really not want to work crazy busy season hours? And do you think it's possible to not work crazy busy season hours? We've only been told that the hours are normal and it's just the way it is. And we accept it. We've accepted it for the last 40 years. I don't know. I'm imagining these work hours have been crazy probably since 1986. I don't know when that crazy tax bill came out. I'm not that old, so I don't really know how crazy it was back then. But anyways, well, they were wrong. So the public accounting industry is in its current state because we lack the courage to stand up to the status quo. And I think we're slowly realizing that we don't have to work so much. And we're still in the early adopter phase of like realizing this. And it's going to take, my opinion, another 10 years before we really see progress in the industry. It's slow moving, slow moving. But what stage of the change do you want to be in? The late stage? I don't think so. You want to be an early adopter and a pioneer of the next era of public accounting. Like, doesn't that sound awesome? I think that's why you're here right now. You're in this conference to level up, to learn new things, to be challenged, and to be encouraged. I think all of that's going to happen in this presentation as well. All right, so I'm going to be real with y'all. I worked a lot of hours this past busy season. I averaged 42 hours a week in January and 44 hours in February and 47 hours a week on average in March. And then I peaked at 55 hours during the first week of April, which I'm sure y'all can relate. Last week of April, or last week of the deadline in April, can be crazy. So how did I do? Are those crazy busy season hours? Are they crazy hours? I still think so. because I was feeling worn down and burnt out by the April deadline. Um, yeah, I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Hearing a lot of agreements. Are we muted? Yeah, I can't hear y'all, but I can see. Okay, Monica answered that. Yeah. How are you counting hours? So I use a really cool software that automates all my time tracking. It's called Rise, Rize. I don't have a referral code for you, but I don't have one linked right now. But I could give one you later if you find me somewhere on the socials and ask for one. It's a really cool app that allows you to track your time and it does it automatically. I don't know. It's really cool. Not about talking about that right now, but great question. Okay, so how do we improve these hours? I'm going to show you what I do. And how I do that is creating capacity. And creating capacity, the goal is creating more space to have a choice on what we want to work on and not what we have to work on. So we're really good at filling up all of our time with what we have to work on and not what we want to work on. Do y'all understand the difference? Uh, like I feel that tension a lot. I have all these projects that I have to do, and I want to do this other stuff, like go to attend this conference and learn how to improve my firm. So it makes it really hard to improve if there's no time to improve. Like we need that capacity. So where do we start? Okay. Feel free, everyone, feel free to, if you have a question for me, please drop it in the Q&A tab and not in the chat tab. There's a specific area to ask me questions, and that way it's easier for me to address those questions because the chat is loaded with a bunch of people and a bunch of, it's harder to get to questions that way. So thank y'all. Okay. So creating capacity, where do we start? And this is like the biggest way I start with creating capacity is the client list. We start with your client list because that's where all the work comes from, right? So I kind of joke about it. We nuke it every year, in well, probably in April and probably in September. Like I'm gonna nuke my client list because there's just way too much work and I have too many clients, and there's a bunch of clients that aren't really a good fit for me anymore. I'm going to nuke it. And so, I want to ask y'all, Tor, y'all can answer in the chat. Are all of your clients your dream clients? Like, is every single one of your client that you're working with, uh, like a dream client? Like, they pay you well, they're nice to you, they turn in everything on time, and they sign everything on time. They listen to what you say, they follow your instructions. They make decisions after they've consulted you. Are those all of your clients? Hmm? No. Yeah. No. Same here. Those aren't all my dream clients, or I don't have all dream clients either. And so this is a constant evolution of nuking the client list. We have to nuke the client list every year. And for the last 3 years, I've been running my own firm. It's a virtual CPA firm for the last 4 years. In the last 3 years, I've made a list during busy season with how much I'm charging a client to prepare a tax return for that year and how much I want to be charging them due to their complexity, communication style, responsiveness, and how hard they are to work with. You know what I'm saying? Like, do they just are they just a pain in your butt? They answer one of your questions only in a list of questions and they don't really give you an answer, but they answer it and just to probably just try to get you off your back, but it doesn't help. Like that. Uh, so I'm gonna check the Q&A real quick before I move on. Um, let's see. I answered this one. I answered Jamie's. Uh, that's not a question. I would like to get rid of. Oh, you can see that on the screen. I would like to get rid of a few of my challenging clients, but I'm concerned about the perpetual backlash, social media. Huh. I would say this is all in your head, and there may be one client that blows up on you. In my experience, I have not had a client burn me ever on social media, and uh, I think that's probably pretty rare, and it's just a big fear that we have in our heads about it. And I'm only speaking from my experience, so I know it still happens out there. But I've had that same fear as well. If I ever raise the rates on a client, like, man, what if they give me a 1-star review? Uh, thing is, what the things that I mentioned earlier about the current state of public accounting, guess what? There's going to be other clients that they value you, and there's the work is out there. Okay. So, anyways, back to this list I create during busy season and throughout the year. This client list of all my clients I'm going to raise rates on. The thing is, what happens if you're raising your rates every year, especially for new clients? Please tell me everyone has been raising their rates every every year, especially over the last 4 years, because y'all know what has happened over the last 4 years. Crazy stuff with inflation, the C word, COVID. Things have gotten a lot harder to do our jobs, it seems like, and a lot more complexity and a lot more expectations on us. So please raise your rates every year. All right. So if you're raising your rates every year for new clients at a faster rate than returning clients, you get into a spot where returning clients that come back, are paying a lot less and potentially taking more time to work on than new clients. Like, that's like a worst case scenario. Uh, that happens, and that happened to me. And so, what I do to reconcile that is by making the list I was talking about earlier. Current fee, get a spreadsheet, create create your uh, really cool spreadsheet. Current fee here, and then what the fee should be if they were a new client. You know everything about them, like their attitude, how nice they are, their client records, their complexity, how long it takes. You have all that data now. How much would you charge a new client that at your new client rates? Well, you look at the delta, and then uh, you you send them a letter. But anyways, I'll get that to in a second. You can also create a fire list, because sometimes a client takes up so much time and energy, the money isn't worth it. And I've got a couple clients this year. Unfortunately, they paid me a lot of money this year. I've got a couple clients that I'm going to fire that makes up a decent chunk of my revenue, and the money just isn't worth it. And fire lists are easier to make when your capacity is full. Like, you have too much work. You're working a lot. And so if that's the case, fire lists should be easy. Should be easy. Just think about like how low of a risk that is to get rid of a client that's not treating you right, or they're really sketchy. So Charles asks, so I just looked in the chat. I see a question in the chat. Please ask in the Q&A. There's a little bubble, two little bubbles, a Q&A. Ask questions in there, and hopefully I can get to them all. But Charles asks, is there a way to send this presentation to my staff? I believe everyone should have access to it. I don't know if there's a recording as well of the presentation. Maybe. Um, maybe. I'm not sure. Okay. So let's go back to that list. Here's the kicker. You got to create the list when you're in the trenches and the emotions are high. One second. I got backstage talking to me. The session will be recorded and available for viewing after the session. All right. Awesome. Okay. So the feelings of angst and frustration will have dissipated by now if you're trying to think of a price for someone that you did back in April and March, and you won't get an accurate price from yourself. You'll your heart has softened. You're like, oh, they're not actually a bad client. There's no way I could bump up their price $300. Like, I can't do that to them. Uh, I'm not saying be a monster. Don't be a monster, but and I don't think it's being a monster to realize how much you should be charging in the heat of battle. And so you have to create it when the emotions are high, because those emotions will come back when you do the return the following year. And if that happens again, then you know what to do. Okay? You have to stay strong and not adjust the price list after you've worked with them. You got to like lock it down somehow or send it to a colleague or a teammate and freeze it and be like, "All right, here's the price. Don't let me budge on this." You know, if there's some sort of circumstance that happens, like you have a heart, and I understand everybody has a heart, and you're human, and you're just like, man, they went. I know when they went through a really hard year. I'm not gonna bump up their price. That's perfectly fine. Please do that. That I think that's really good to do. Okay, so in November, I send out, which is a week away, basically. I send out emails to clients using a template I created, uh, and I say like, here's your price. Here's why. Da 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 da. Would anyone be interested in this template? I got a lot of thumbs up and hearts. That's really cool. I can see this. This these features are great. Okay, guess what? Uh, I've attached what I use to this presentation for you to use if you need help with raising rates. I've attached the template I've used the past few years, and I'm not sure. Is there a resources button for y'all? There is for me. Resources tab, and there's other stuff I'm going to talk about in the resources. There is, yeah, there is. Cool. So I have a Word doc. It's called Tax Return Price Increase Template. Please use it if you struggle in this arena with raising prices. That gives you a base of what to do, of like how to word it, and use it. I would love it if you use it. You don't have to use it word for word. You can kind of change it up. So please. Okay. So every year that I've done this, I've sent out these letters. Every year the list gets smaller and smaller, actually, because um, I've done it so much, and I guess I'm getting a little better with my pricing. But every year that I've done this, the clients that have taken up the most time that are on that list leave. It's magic. It's it's incredible. They self-select themselves out, and you don't have to fire them. They just say, "Sorry, like we're out of here." And you don't feel bad. They don't feel bad, and it's like a win-win. It's amazing. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna hit up a Q&A before I continue on this topic. What is a reasonable amount to spend for marketing to set up lead magnet? Oh, I'm not really sure about that. I think that's like a off-topic question, Darren Lehman. Sorry. uh, what is the lowest monthly bookkeeping fee you charge on a client, and what's that based on? Again, um, not really applicable to this presentation, but my minimum is $400 a month for bookkeeping. Uh, what is a reasonable? Here's a great question. What is a reasonable rate increase each year? Do you have a percentage you use? Last year, yeah. So there's a broad. I use a broad rate for everybody except for that specific list that I make. That could be 50% to 200% price increases for those clients that are severely underpriced. But reasonable rate last year for 2023, between 2022 and 2023 return, I increased it by 10%, because inflation was crazy. I think inflation was more than that. You got to do at least inflation rate, or you're losing money. You run a business. This is very important. We're accountants. We should be great business owners, right? And we're not, unfortunately. This year, for between 2023 and 2024 tax returns, the rate of increase, I'm just gonna have to look at inflation and see how I feel and increase it. I'm definitely not gonna do lower than inflation. Okay. All right. So every year I've done this, clients leave that really take up all my time, and just make sure you can still work with them with a higher fee in case they stick around. And that's what I did. I'm like, this is the price I'm okay with. That- And like the amount of time that I invest in their return every year. The thing is, there's a lot of opportunity cost when we work on projects that take us a long time, when we could have completed multiple projects for more money in the same amount of time. So consider that when you're repricing. Like, man, this client, they took me 10 hours for this return, and I only got paid for the amount I would charge like one client because I just underpriced them. So maybe you 3x their rate, or maybe you let them go and bring on three clients and get more money and spend less time on them, hopefully. Anyways, so are you worried about pushback? Imagine this is the dumb analogy, everyone. Imagine you're going to the doctor and being like, hey, 5 years ago, you're only this price. Why are you raising prices so much? I know insurance kind of plays a role in pricing, but imagine like doing that to a lawyer or your mechanic. Uh, like, would customers, or would our customers and clients really question it in this like in our landscape, in our economic landscape? Uh, but anyway, so some pushback is actually good, because getting zero pushback means you need to bump up your pricing more. And so if you're worried about not raising prices enough, send out a price increase notices to just a group, like a quarter of your clients from that list that you make. And then put a deadline on if they're going to work with you again. And then see if you get any pushback. If you get zero pushback, raise it a little more because you need some clients to leave, because you need some capacity to improve your firm. Okay. Uh, uh, oh, a question popped up. I don't know if I did that or not. Extensions. Do you have a date you say has to be filed? Say work has to be in by, or you will file an extension. Do you auto extend clients or ask before filing? Okay. I addressed that in a little bit, but I do have an information deadline date, and um, I don't auto extend. Well, I do auto extend if we have an engagement with them. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get that in a second. Sorry, I'm like trying to think of two different things at once. All right, so next up is leverage. We free up some capacity. How else do we free up more capacity? We free up capacity by letting clients go, reducing client lists, but then we use leverage. So uh, love this presentation, right? It's so interesting to look at this slide right now. Please ignore the design of it. It's hurting my eyes as well. But anyway, so leverage is something that multiplies your efforts. Like, I use technology and human capital as leverage. That sounds kind of weird saying human capital, um, but that means people. So technology is something that uh, I heavily invest in. And in fact, you would probably get sick if you knew how much I spend on software every year. Tax software, software that helps my tax software. I got software for software, it feels like. And spoiler alert, you can watch a video on YouTube of me breaking down my firm income and expenses. There's a link to it in the resources area. It looks like a little puzzle. Well, no, that's the virtual. It looks like a little document. It says resources. There's a link to my YouTube video on how much money I made in 2023 from my firm. And in it, I go over all my expenses. So I invest in technology when it improves my life, depending on if you have a team or not. You can use technology to be your assistant in a way, up to a certain point, to delegate tasks to it. And the less tasks you do as a business owner, the better. Like admin type tasks, like like admin type tasks destroy my soul. Like I try to use tech as much as possible to do the tasks that destroy my soul. I don't mind spending a good amount of money as long as I can like not go crazy during busy season. Like peace of mind, like quality of life, like that's all very important for me. So the type of software is there's a link to my YouTube channel. You can find how much money I made in 2022, 2023, and 2021. Sorry, I went out of order there a little bit. But anyway, so scheduling meetings or inputting data into a tax return kills my soul. So I use Calendly under the technology in the presentation. Calendly is what I use to schedule, and um, I don't have to go back and forth with anybody about scheduling a meeting. It's amazing. And I'm trying to think when I wanted to. Yeah, I've got to pull around that later. Okay. So I invested in tech uh, way before I invested in human capital because managing software was more approachable for me at the time than hiring somebody and managing a person. That was really daunting to me because, uh, I was never a manager in my previous firms that I worked at before I started my firm. So I was like, I don't know what to do with an employee. But I hit a spot uh, last year where my capacity was maxed out. I was burned out of doing all the tasks, everything, and I had to make a decision. Do I lose some clients or hire somebody? And I landed on hiring someone because less clients wouldn't change much. I would still be working on a lot of the tasks that were burning me out, like the beginning of stages of tax return prep. And having an employee has helped free up time for me to add new clients during January and April this past season. Like I've had a full-time employee for a year now, and I was like taking on new clients between January and April because I had the ability to. It's great. So in the technology on the slide, Calendly I use to schedule apps. Loom I use to record videos. I'm not going to go into this too much, but I record video summaries of of client tax returns, and I send them the link. It's protected through their portal where they can see me reviewing their return, sharing my screen, and explaining everything. I anticipate all the questions that they will have, and I talk about it and give any tax tips that may be applicable to them. That saves both of our times. Typeform I use as an intake form. We're going to get to that in a second. And then Airtable and Zapier I use on top of Typeform to kind of automate my client intake process. Sorry, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But yeah, those are those are really good softwares that I recommend. If you don't use a scheduling app, get one. Loom, get it. Typeform, get it. Okay, we're good. All right. All right. Next up, protecting time. So now we're going to talk about some strategies I use to protect my time. And you can create capacity and you can use leverage, but if you don't have time, you can't do anything. And so, as a business owner, your time is always getting attacked by everything. Everything. It's crazy how much we have to do as busy business owners. And so, scheduling apps are probably one of the biggest productivity apps of the 21st century, in my opinion. And I don't take that lightly. Like scheduling app. Um, does anyone not use a scheduling app? Let's set up the poll about scheduling apps. Does anyone not, or does who uses a scheduling app? And what I mean by that, it's a software that allows uh, a person to select when you're available to meet, and it's a one-way interface. You set up times, they select the time. Who uses one? Who doesn't? I'm curious. Most people do, but a good chunk don't. For those that have voted, it's evening out a little bit to be 50 fit. Oh, it's 60-40 almost. Okay. So please, please get a scheduling app and start trying it. I use Calendly, it's paid, it's not that much. But if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, Microsoft Bookings comes with your subscription probably. And so try it out. Don't don't pay an admin to schedule meetings for you. I Calendly does it, or scheduling apps does. So that would revolutionize your quality of life as well. Going back and forth with someone on a time is the biggest waste ever. If we can spend like I pay like $9 a month for Calendly or something like that. Oh my gosh, it's so worth it. Um, okay. So, anyways, so protecting time. I also some strategies that I use is I completely block Mondays and Fridays off from getting scheduled. No one can schedule on those days. And because Mondays are like, all right, I got to catch up from the weekend, whatever happened. And then Fridays, I want the ability to like, oh, if I take the day off, if I go do something, if I, you know, I create content on Fridays a lot. And so I don't want anybody interrupting that time. So I block that off, protects that time. I don't allow scheduling to start until after 9 a.m. so I can focus in the morning. So I can, if I need to hit something that requires a lot of brain power in the morning. So in that way, I can focus on that type of work versus being in a meeting. And I use an automated intake form. I use an automated intake form to help me manage potential clients before they schedule any meetings with me. You don't have to do this; it doesn't have to be automated. But I would recommend an intake form. That's what I was talking about, type form. Uh, and the intake form for my intake form allows potential clients and current clients to schedule meetings that fits their needs. It also allows me to filter out clients that aren't going to be a good fit from the start. Like if you're a C corp, sorry, can't help you. There's so think about how much time is wasted if you don't pre-qualify leads. So if you don't filter out people to meet with you, potential clients to meet with you before you actually meet with them, and they're like you have this great conversation, and at the end of it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm a C corp," or "Oh yeah, I have foreign subsidiaries," and you don't do that type of work. That's a huge time waste. You've wasted their time as well. So right off the bat, my form kicks those people that aren't that I, type of they kick out the type of work that I don't do immediately. And if you're interested in this, in my intake form, what it looks like, I have a demo version of the questions that I ask and what it looks like. And it's linked in the resources for you to steal if you want to. You can steal my questions or, the type of questions that I use to pre-qualify people. If people don't meet a certain amount of um, filters, then they get booted. They say, sorry, we're not a good fit. Okay. All right. I'm going to check out. Oh, Calendly does this as well. Calendly has this form as well. Uh, my intake form is very complex and there's a lot of logic to it. So Calendly's not a good fit for it, but you could use Calendly to pre-qualify leads as well. All right, so I'm gonna hit up the Q&A real quick before I move on. I think we're getting close to being done. Um, okay, one second. Oh, do you mind sharing what makes up your revenue streams and those rough percentages? For example, bookkeeping, tax advisory, etc. Check out my YouTube channel and the resources. I go over that in my yearly video on how much money I make and all my expenses. And it shows you a breakdown of the type of like income, like tax returns, um, bookkeeping, advisory, consulting, all of that jazz. So please check that out. Are you raising rates more on the bottom of your pricing? Um, are you raising rates more on the bottom quote of your pricing 1040s, much more than say middle and upper tier? Yes, 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 exactly. So I try to reconcile every year the clients that uh, what their price is versus my pricing would be now, because a lot of clients that joined you the last 3 years, you probably 3 or 4 years, you probably evolved your pricing. Like I've evolved my pricing tremendously. I started at $450 an hour for a 1040. I'm up like $1,200 now for a minimum 1040. And so there's a lot of clients that started me with it at the beginning. I had to do some big jumps, and versus the clients that come in the last couple of years, I maybe do like a base percentage apply, like a base price increase percentage. Do you also make a personal contact phone call or meeting when doing a price increase? I'm a solo firm. I don't personally. That would probably be really good customer service if you did that, and the client would probably really appreciate that. I don't do that. Uh, I would recommend it to not be like me. Do you do any subscription pricing on tax clients? I do for my business clients. Um, yes. uh, all right. This extension. I'll get to that extension question in a little bit. How do you raise rates for this year when clients are telling you they are going to be losing some of their income? Do you do a smaller percentage? That's probably up to you. And man, that's hard. Um, how easy are they to work with? How much do you want to work with them, and how do you like working with them? You need to answer those questions first before you decide on raising their rates if you know their income is um, is going down. So, and you can choose not to raise the rates for them. Do you factor software cost increases in your rate increase? Absolutely. Yeah. So you may want to increase your rates more than inflation because of software. Software is hitting us hard right now with their price increases. Holy smokes. Do you have an outline for the issues addressed when you record return reviews? Um, when you do you have an out I know what I'm gonna talk about, and the software Loom that I use, it writes a summary for me, and if you use the AI feature, and so I utilize that, and it'll also create action items for them automatically as well. So that's kind of what I don't create an outline for them, but I go over the same things every time. Okay. Is it better to have an increase in your contract from the start of working with the client or bookkeeping services? Is it better to have an increase in your Yeah. I tell clients in my engagement letter to expect price increases every year. I don't have like a set increase percentage, but you can for sure, like, hey, by the way, this this service price will increase every year by a minimum of 4%. So you could definitely give clients a heads up on that. How come you don't work with C corps? Because I don't have experience in them. The last time I worked on a C corp was like 6 years ago, and so I'm not going to work on something that I have no business working on. Can't find and C corps are pretty rare these days. Seems like can't find price lists by the type of returns forms, etc. I'm not sure what's that question is. Can't find price lists by type of returns forms. I'm not sure what you're asking, Kelly. Any tips on letting clients go? My firm has been around 40 years and we have way too many. Any tips on how to nicely tell them we need to part ways? You know, um, I I've used for fire letters. I've just used my insurance's disengagement letter basically. It's very vague, and I think we want to keep it vague for liability reasons on when we let clients go. And really, it's kind of just you don't put any emotion into it, and you try to keep it very professional and just say like, hey, our business just is going in a different direction. So I don't have a fire template, unfortunately, for you. If I did, I would give it to you. I don't fire that many clients each year, thankfully, but I am this. I'm firing a couple this year. Sorry about that. Oh, a price list. I don't charge by form. I have a minimum for 1040s, and that's $1,200 right now. Um, and for business returns, it's 2,000 or $2,200 minimum to work with me. Okay, I don't price per form, Kelly. It's more of a minimum type. There was a YouTube video that said your clients are not your friends. You are an acceptably priced provider of a necessary service. Yes. I don't know why you're putting that in the Q&A, Charles. That's more of a chat. Yeah. Y'all are using the Q&A function as a chat. Sorry. Okay. All right. We're almost done, I think. I'm almost out of time, and I have one more slide before I can answer more questions. All right, so boundaries. The last topic is boundaries. Boundaries might be one of the hardest things to enforce because we work with people and it's hard to say no. All right? Who who says it's hard to say no? Like who agrees with that? Like saying no is really hard for us accountants. Yeah. And that's why I joke that saying no is a superpower. But in reality, it's more like a muscle that you have to train, because the more that you say no to work that isn't a good fit for you, the more power you get and the more you can work with clients that aren't a good fit. It hurts so much when I find out that a client's not a good fit and realize that and know how much time I've spent on their project and how much I've underpriced, and they've just somehow gotten through so easily through all my filters of working with me. Man, it hurts. And it takes away my power. It makes me weaker because all my capacity was just burned up on on this client. All right. So you must know what you should not be working on. So, like when someone asks, "Why don't you work on C corps?" Because I know I should not be working on C corps, and I know that that's my boundary. I'm not going to say yes to that. Like I limit all potential clients, um, that to those that live in Texas. Like if you fill out my form and if you answer that you don't live in Texas and you're not going to move here in the next year, it says, sorry, we're not a good fit. And I say no to a lot of work that's outside of Texas. Like, bec- like a lot of work, unfortunately. But like, I don't want to learn new state laws. Like every state has a different income tax law, or most of them do, or business tax law. And like learning all those laws would kill my capacity and is a huge opportunity cost. I could finish 5 returns by the time it takes me to learn the rules for Oklahoma or Kansas. Man, like why sink all of my time into that? So you have to know what you're not going to work on and keep that boundary. And that's why I create a policy. You know, you must live in Texas or and and you must be moving to Texas to work with me. But we don't want to let people down. And so, what has helped me with boundaries, well, first, don't let them become a client if they're, if you know they have work that you're absolutely not going to work on. But another way is uh, I create policies that I can point back to and say, sorry, it's our policy to uh, not work with people that are very disrespectful and are jerks. Uh, we're gonna have to let you go because of that. We have to terminate you. Or sorry, it's our policy to not work with engineers. I guess that would be a pre-qualification to work with you. But anyways, or it's a policy that we can't open up files over email. You have to use our portal. I'm not gonna open up your email, risk getting a virus, but then download your stuff and then upload it to your portal. No, that's our policy is you have to upload it to the portal for security reasons. Um, those don't really seem like time saving strategies, but they are. They are. Trust me. One boundary that I try to enforce most of the time is information deadlines. This gets back to a question by Charles. Um, Information deadlines, like if you give me information 2 weeks before the deadline, we can't guarantee your return will be filed on time. But the thing is, that can create a huge wave of work. I've discovered this, a huge wave of work uh, on the information deadline date. Like 30 clients will wait till that date to upload their stuff. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot. Um, can I do all these returns by the deadline now? Because they just slam me instead of getting their stuff in earlier. There's a warning with that. Like that's a negative to information deadlines. But the thing is, it protects you from clients that upload it the day before and expect you to finish their return on time. Like you can absolutely say, "Hey, this is our policy. We can't do this in time. You're being extended." And irons. Oh my gosh, and irons. Wait a minute, Aaron. You're getting ahead of me. Okay. I was just about to say this, Anne. She's in the chat. Something new I'm going to implement this year is a scheduling system where we schedule out tax returns and only allow a limited amount of returns to be prepared between January through April. And so that way I can control my workflow, my workload to hopefully only be about 40 hours a week. Uh, I'm probably going to create content on that later. So subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see how that actually ends up working. But I'm excited to try it out and see how it works. But I learned it from Brenda Cannon, Jacob Oberlander, and Ann Irons, who's watching this presentation. Wow. And just commented. So I've learned from them. I've listened to podcasts from Jason Stats about this scheduling and this scheduling system. And I'm going to try it out. I have to tell clients about it soon because it's November and we're almost at the end of the year. But anyways, so I'm almost done. You can also place boundaries in how you write your service terms. So the services that you provide, like, hey, I'm going to prepare your 1040, and you list these terms in there saying like, okay, on these conditions, like you have to have everything uploaded. You have to upload by this date. You have to do this, and this, and then we can get started on your return or what we're engaged to do. So if you uh, if you use any sort of proposal software engagement letter that lists your services, create terms that creates boundaries for the client that allows you to control the flow of work and not the client. Anyways, I think that's all I got in my presentation. Uh, you can get a free trial, 14-day trial with Financial Sense. Thank you all so much for Financial Sense for having me talk about all this stuff. Hopefully, I've given you some ideas or encouragement on what to do. Uh, Open for any questions. Please check out the resources that I have in the resources section. Check out my YouTube channel. I'm launching a community in a couple of weeks called Counter, and you can look on my Twitter, my X profile, Logan Graf at Logan Graf Tax. Learn more about it. There's a community interest form you can fill out in the resources about joining the community, and I'll tell everybody when it's officially launched. But we're launching pretty soon. Excited to work with small firm owners. Join it's a community of small firm owners that want to change the industry and change it for the good, like trying to help us not work crazy busy season hours and upskill us. Okay, I work with individuals. From Cheryl Bays, do you work with individuals or only businesses? I work with both, mostly individuals. I'd love to create more business clients or get more business clients. Do I write your terms in the contract? Yes. So I use a software called Ignition to create all of my service terms. There's other proposal softwares called Anchor. Financial Sense has a proposal system where I believe you could create um, services and service terms in there as well. I'm not trying to steal away from the Financial Sense software at all, but really enjoyed talking to y'all. Hope y'all had a great time. An hour went by really fast. I don't know how much time do I have. Am I out of time? Do you have to kick me out now? I can just keep talking. I have 1 minute. Thank y'all so much. There's an interest form you can fill out to join my community or see if you're interested in it and get more information about it. I'm about to launch the website. join my YouTube channel, see all my content. It's kind of similar to what I presented about today. Basically, POV and how I run my firm, and my pricing, how much money I made. Do What do you use FC? So FC, so Financial Sense. They 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 had me come on and present at their conference. So I don't use them, but I know they're really good software for practice management, proposals, managing client interactions. So, and Jason Stats is in love with Financial Sense. So if he loves it, then it's good. All right. Uh, there's no. Is it better to have an increase in your contract from